ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to WedChat Live. We are live once again. It's myself, and hello, Pat. How are you doing?
I am very well, thank you, Stephen. How are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you. You've done a very good job of disguising the fact that you were scrambling around trying to get some lights in the background just now.
Who would do that to me?
I didn't do it to you. I said it might be nice if we have some lights in the background, and then suddenly...
For clarity, Steve made a casual comment on the absence of
you.
light. But that was quite inspiring for Pat, and I would have been inspired as well to scrabble around for light.
And he scrabbled around. He's got a nice little purple light in the background, which, might I say, looks very, very nice on the broadcast.
Actually, it's purple and pink. See that?
It's purple and it's pink. And I'm liking. We've abandoned the uniforms tonight as well, haven't we, Pat?
We have. But you've not gone for a white shirt. I can't see you, bear mate. You've not gone for a white shirt, though, have you?
Are you able to see the feed? Can you see me?
I could, but I'd be so far behind with the feed that it would throw me. Let me have a look. Let me just have a look at you.
Do you know what it is, right? I've been trying to like just be a bit more experimental with my shirts. I took my lead from you, and
wow!
I've always gone for like earth tones, you know. And just keep it very, very simple. But recently I saw them in Matalan, and they had a sale on, and I thought, oh, well, I mean, maybe I could give it a go. But the problem with this one is I'm just a little bit worried about anybody who might have some kind of like medical condition, like epilepsy or something. Because if I move too fast, then it's entirely possible that this could give somebody some kind of fit, of some kind. So
I can't stop looking at it now.
What do you think the yellow bits are? Because I said I haven't decided whether they are. I said, what was it? Flowers. I said flowers or lemons, and Laura thought I said Willies.
Can't say Willies on the feed.
Can't I? Is this a family show?
Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely.
sorry.
Family people.
I'm so sorry. Good evening, everybody. It's good to see you here on WedSound. This isn't WedSounds Live. This is WedChat Live. Oh my goodness, we're talking. By the way, Pat, just before I carry on, Laura can see me. You're like a little bit behind on the feed, but I've got this top button done up here, right? But if I just do you think I can get away with
I'm a bit nervous about what's going to happen next. Actually,
do you think I can get away with?
We didn't talk about this.
Do you think I can get away with just the second button down? I mean, it's cash, isn't it? Do you think I can get away with it?
I think so.
I think I do. I think.
But I just wouldn't go any further.
I can't wait for the feed to catch up for me now.
That would be a totally different show.
I'm not going any further. That would be wed strip live.
Wed revealed.
Oh yeah. Watch your favourite wedding suppliers.
Watch them naked.
Watch your favourite wedding suppliers take their clothes off.
Not where we need to be. Is this what we're going to do for the second series?
The second yeah. I just like a series of ritual humiliations of wedding suppliers. That's what I think.
No, because no one will come on.
Nah, we'll tell them otherwise.
Oh, they will. They'll love it.
We'll gunge them like they did in the 80s on Live and Kicking.
Gunge? Oh, I remember gunge.
The gunge tank. I remember the time Philip Schofield got gunged. It was great. Well, Tracy says I'm looking rather cool. I'm liking that. Thanks very much, Tracy. But I know. So tonight we are talking about breaking news. Breaking news. It's not actually that breaking news. It's been in the news in the last couple of months, but it's come up in the news again, and we thought, oh, let's just abandon everything we were going to do and talk about this. The government has made some startling announcements about weddings in the UK. They and this comes from an independent article, so I'm going to read the headline from the independent article when I can find it. Oh, there it is. Okay, so it says weddings to be allowed outside and in homes after review of outdated venue laws. So, Pat, who's an expert on wedding venues.
Oh, yes, I'm an expert on wedding venues. How can I help you this evening, Stephen?
When I sent this to Pat, he was like, I don't know anything about wedding venues, so we're just going to kind of like chat about this sort of thing this evening, because it is quite important information, isn't it, Pat?
It's really important information. I don't know what we're going to bring to the discussion. So if anyone wants to help us by just jumping on the comments and just talking about stuff, that'd be great. And the more help you can give us, the better, because we're out of our depth this evening.
We want to know where you got married, or where you're planning on getting married. That's one thing. So we've got a little sign for that. Can you put that up in the comments? And if you can let us know in the comments, where did you get married, or where are you going to get married? Because I don't know if everybody's aware, but there are some very, very strict laws governing where you can get married in the UK, and we're going to go through those. So before I do, though, I went on the official government website, gov.uk, and there's been an official press release from the government, and it says here, subject to the findings from an independent law commission, the changes would ensure couples can marry in a way that is individually meaningful for them while continuing to preserve the dignity of marriage ceremonies. You like that, don't you, Pat?
I do. It wasn't actually it was the other phrase.
Don't say it. I'm coming to it. I'm coming to it. You flipped out at this phrase. It is gonna. Right. It says separately, the government will accelerate plans to allow civil weddings and civil partnerships to be held outside, and will look to implement these through secondary legislation, subject to any necessary consultation. Any new venues, and I'm not going to discuss this right now because it's for later in the discussion, but Pat is itching to go on this one. So tell us what you think in the comments as well, right? Any new venues would have to meet the existing test of solemnity and dignity. Pat, you loved the solemnity and dignity test, didn't you?
Well, I just did. To be honest with you jumped straight on it with a fantastic example, right? And the fantastic example, because I immediately went, oh my, who are they to tell us how it should be, really? You know, if I want it to be fun, I can have it fun. But Steve came with the classic, which was, well, you won't want to get married in a sex shop.
I didn't say you wouldn't want to get married in a sex shop.
Okay.
No, I didn't say that you wouldn't want to get married in a sex shop. I was just saying that
it wouldn't be an appropriate place to get married.
That's probably the government would feel that it wouldn't pass the test of solemnity and dignity.
which thinking on's right. Okay, I can get on board with that.
Yeah.
But I mean, the idea of getting married in McDonald's, some people like McDonald's. Some people like to get, the Witherspoons were actually doing weddings. I don't know if they're still doing weddings, but Witherspoons were doing wedding receptions.
That's amazing.
And certainly until quite recently, you can have your wedding reception there and they'd get a DJ. Now, having worked in Witherspoons years ago as a DJ, I can't remember doing one single wedding. I can't remember there being a big influx of bookings for wedding receptions in the afternoon. But it was a thing for sure. So
I suppose. Okay, so let's just go through a little bit of the history of this, because I did a little bit of research because I'm a good host, and I didn't go into this. I didn't go into this completely blind. Quick show of the WedChat mug before I drink out of it.
Cheers.
Oh look, I've got one of those.
We love our WedChat mugs, don't we?
We do. Mine doesn't have any tea in it at the minute, which is a bit awkward.
Mine's got Pepsi in it. No, it's not. It's got WedChat fluid. Okay, so moving on from that, 1836 is a key date here, and let me tell you about 1836, because this is about marriage law. So before 1836, basically, you couldn't be legally regarded as married in this country until you had been married in an Anglican church, and actually specifically in an Anglican church. Now, if a person didn't want to get married in an Anglican church, it was tough cookies, because that was the law. You had to get married by an Anglican vicar in an Anglican church, Anglican congregation, Anglican ceremony. So some people felt that they weren't being properly represented, Jews, for example, or atheists, and what have you. So they passed this law in 1836, which made marriage civil, so it was kind of like apart from religion, and it meant that people could go down a register office, and since then, the law has not been reformed. So we were looking at like what that meant in 1836, and what it meant is that a marriage can take place in one of these places. Okay, did you know though, Pat? You can't actually legally. Now, hang on, I don't want to say this right. Yeah, no, you can't legally be married in a Roman Catholic church in England.
I only know this because you said it earlier. I still can't believe that.
I can't believe it.
It doesn't seem right at all, does it?
It's it really doesn't. It really is really strange, and I didn't know that. If you're going to get married in a religious place in England, it's got to be in an Anglican church.
So is that still the law today then?
Apparently so, but we do have a few things here on the Citizens Advice website. So
good.
Laura's got this information. Laura just got pulled away for a second. Is everything okay?
Yeah,
We got some
cat situation.
Mutiny with children and cats. That's what we're having over here. Like the true wedding professionals that we are, our children are being attacked by cats.
We got cats.
So Laura has to leave. Brilliant. Okay, so Laura, where are the places that a marriage can take place since 1836 in England and Wales? Not necessarily Northern Ireland. We're talking about England and Wales because Northern Ireland and Scotland are devolved.
Okay, so a marriage can take place in a register office, premises approved by the local authority like a hotel, a church of the Church of England, Church in Wales, Church of Ireland, Presbyterian, or a Roman Catholic church in Northern Ireland. Apparently you can't...
We discussed this while you were gone, so you can't get married in a Roman Catholic church in England, but you can in Northern Ireland.
I found that quite surprising, actually. A synagogue or any other private place if both partners are Jewish.
So both partners have got to be Jewish for it to be in a synagogue.
A meeting house if one or both the partners are either members of the Society of Friends or associated with it by attending meetings.
Pat, do you know what the Society of Friends are?
Quakers.
I've got a horrible feeling you're going to tell me because I don't know.
And I have to be careful that I remember that they're called Quakers.
Oh, the Quakers. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on a minute. Dymphna says here, hi Dymphna, she says, I wasn't legally married, so shock and horror.
Ooh.
What does that mean, Dymphna? Tell us a little bit more about that.
We need more information.
We need more information about that. Yeah, so we're talking about Quakers, so you've got to both be Jewish if you want to get married in a synagogue or in a meeting house with capital M, capital H, because that's the official name of a place of worship for Quakers. And then where else?
So then it's any registered religious building in England and Wales only.
Is that a Roman? Does that include a Roman Catholic church?
I don't know, because I wonder if that's a clause that a Roman Catholic people could
we
use.
need to get somebody who's really into their Catholicism.
I think it's very muddy, to be honest.
I think it is. It's confusing.
The government's obviously trying to get around these laws because we're much more liberal these days. But it wouldn't be in a Roman Catholic church because this is actually officially a Protestant country, thanks to Henry V 111.
But then it seems a shame that other faiths are represented and provided for, but not a Roman Catholic.
Yeah.
And then it's.
Oh, these are the interesting ones, right?
This next one's really interesting. The home of one of the partners if the partner is housebound or detained. So if someone is in prison, then they're able to get married in prison, aren't they?
So if a person is housebound, like if they are physically incapable of getting out of their house because they're like 37 or 40 stone and they have to be washed with a rag on a stick.
This feed's going so well this week. Keep going.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just theorising.
Go on.
Right, go on.
Then in that case they'd be able to get married at home, which is I guess it's quite good.
But surely that would mean also someone who's ill.
Yeah,
yes, no?
yeah.
Right, yeah.
They
Okay.
can't leave the house. And then if there's a place where one partner is seriously ill and not expected to recover, so the example is in hospital. So if someone was in hospital and they weren't expected to recover, then actually they'd be able to get married.
So you're talking about
the hospital.
So you talk about somebody who's potentially like
terminally
ill, or somebody. I wonder whether they would license like a hospice for somebody who'd gone to.
I would imagine
for end of life. Is it called palliative care?
Palliative care. Yeah.
Palliative care. I can't say it. End of life stuff, and they've got X amount of time to live, so they allow them to get married in that place. Okay. And then there's a licensed naval, military, or air force chapel as well. So currently, those are the places that you can get married. And Laura, you've also got some information here on local authority approved premises as well.
Yeah. So the local authorities in England and Wales can approve premises other than registry offices, but the applications for the approval must be made by the owner or the trustee of the building, not the couple themselves. And then there's a few different things that you have to consider. The premises has to be regularly open to members of the public, so it can't just be your house. Stately homes, hotels and civic buildings are likely to be okay. Approval won't be given for open-air venues like moonlit beaches or golf courses. Generally, the premises will need to be a permanent built structure.
At the moment.
At the moment.
This is the law as it stands.
Yeah, although it might be possible for approval to be given to a permanently moored or publicly open boat. Hot air balloons or aeroplanes won't be approved.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
That's the only one I wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, I am married, right?
Tell us in the comments. Tell us in the comments, if there were no restrictions, what would be your ideal place to get married? Where would you love to be married if there were absolutely no restrictions? So that's the law as it stands. So at the moment, it's got to be a permanent structure. So I've been to venues, Pat, where, and I don't know if you've been the same, where Priory Cottages in Wetherby, for example, they will have the ceremony outside, but everybody will be stood outside. The bride will walk down the aisle, but then they'll actually conduct the ceremony just inside the building so that they're covered by the permanent structure. Have you seen that before?
I have indeed. There's a venue. I was trying to, as you were saying it there is a venue up in the lakes where they've literally licensed an outdoor bit, and it's a small structure at the bottom of like a patio terrace where they have that. So yes, absolutely, I've seen that before.
Yes, so there's another place that I've regularly worked with in York called Skipbridge Country Weddings, where they've actually built their own permanent structure. It's like a pagoda. They call it the Willow Bower. It's concrete on the bottom, wood and a wooden ceiling as well. But what they had to do is Harrogate Council had to come out and they had to approve it as a permanent structure. And the couple have to make sure that they're actually under the structure when they're doing the ceremony itself. So that is the current law. And a lot of people see that as being quite archaic and outdated. And when you find out that these laws went right back to 1836, it probably is a little bit outdated, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it probably is. And I think that, if you look at how much change has occurred, even in the last few years, in the last few years, how many changes there have been in wedding venues, that certainly we must be we must be due a bit of a change for sure.
Yeah, so it's outdated, isn't it? So what does it mean for where people can get married? I mean, has anybody in the comments been restricted by where, you wanted to get married in a certain place, but then when you found out the law, you found out that you basically couldn't get married there? Laura, have we had any interesting comments come in? I know Dimfn has explained a little bit more about her rebellion against the Catholic Church.
Dimfn said that she married an Englishman in 1969 in a Catholic church.
Ooh.
But I'm wondering whether that was in England or in Northern Ireland.
So she says, I defaulted and went and married an Englishman in 1969 in a Catholic church.
But she had to sign the civil register also. And because, I'll put this one up as well, because it was the 1st of November, I don't know what that means. I don't know.
I have no idea. Can you explain a bit more about that, David?
They had to get a special dispensation because her husband was C of E. Right. But I don't know what that. I feel like there's something there that I should know.
Yeah, there's something there that we should know, but like we don't know. We don't know about Dimfn. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So Jackie, what did Jackie say here as well? She's also said that's where my daughter's was going to be. It's permanent structure on its own with a little stream running around it. Which venue was that?
Oh, and was that Skipbridge? No.
I don't think. Yeah, I think. Was that Skipbridge, Jackie, that you were talking about? That date is also All Souls Day or All Saints Day.
Day after Halloween.
We do have a venue expert in the comments this evening. We've got Zoe Durden Dew is in the comments.
Yeah. Oh, she said the registrar can decide on the day if the outdoors bit doesn't go ahead because of the wind or the rain, things like that.
Zoe, what's your role in weddings? Is Zoe a wedding planner, Pat?
Zoe is, the best way to describe Zoe is as a wedding expert. So she is very broadly based. She used to be head of sales in a venue, and she's worked her way up and out from there. And she now advises wedding venues on their sales and how to improve. Well, not just the sales, the whole wedding business. Really, she consults in the whole of the how to improve or develop your wedding business.
So she's actually a very interesting person to have in the comments here, because she has quite a lot of knowledge on this stuff, doesn't she?
Oh yeah.
So Zoe, maybe you could tell us a little bit about what you said there, which is that a registrar can decide whether it goes ahead outside due to high winds. Is that a legal power that a registrar has? Because we talked about registrars the other week, didn't we?
We did. There was some mud
There
fraud.
was a little bit of mud slinging.
Yeah.
I've got to admit.
Is that how you feel it felt?
Well, some people said they were on a power trip, didn't they?
Yeah.
Can we just be clear? It wasn't me. It wasn't you.
So many feelings were hurt. It was a very very sad episode where lots of things were said. Everybody got a bit drunk. A few words were had and everything. But it's all right. It's all right. Leave it, mate. Leave it. It's all right. You're all right. Take it outside. So that'd be So Zoe says here, Pat can be my hype man.
I can be her what? Sorry.
Hype man.
Hype man.
I'm her hype man. That's it. That's
I called you that for me the other week, didn't I? If I ever go out freestyle rapping, you can be my hype man, and you can be Zoe's as well.
Just do the introductions, or just talk you up.
Yeah, you can just talk me up.
Right.
Well, you talk Zoe up as well. You've already done a really good job of that.
I'm glad she was happy with it. I was totally winging it. I was just looking through my notes there while you were talking, and one of the links you sent me was the Independent article, and there was, it could be somewhat alarmist, but the actual headline is "Weddings to be allowed outside," and this is the bit that interests me, and in homes. After review of outdated venue laws, and that's an interesting one, because it could mean obviously stately homes, or it could mean other venues that are sort of prestigious homes, or it could actually mean people's houses.
Yeah,
and that's an interesting development. For sure,
because the word home is very much a broad thing, isn't it? Because
it's not a house, is it? It's a home.
It's not a house, but does it include a 3-bedroom semi-detached house? And that's what we don't know, because the government hasn't released that kind of information at the moment. But it'd be very interesting to know. Those people who are watching in the comments, and those people who've just joined us, thank you. This is WedChat Live with myself, Stephen Heath, and Pat Mulligan, and my wife Laura. We're just discussing what the government's released in the last couple of days, information about the laws that they're going to change to make it easier to get married outside. At the moment, we can only be married under a permanent structure and under very strict conditions. That law dates back to 1836, but the government is trying to make way to make that legislation less bureaucratic, less red tape, I guess we'd say.
A little freer, isn't it?
Laura, I think Zoe's had some comments there and given us some very interesting information.
Yeah, so oh, hang on, I've got to just take that off. Right, yeah, so Zoe said the venue it is a legal power, and the venue actually have to have a space available inside for the same amount of guests as would have been outside,
right? Just
in case there's a weather situation. We're in England, weather situations,
and we've seen it.
Not that uncommon, are they? So that's interesting. See, that's a legal requirement that they've got to do that. And I guess the registrar is the one that makes the final call. Maybe they do have a lot of power.
But also Zoe said that she's seen plenty on a power trip as well.
Oh.
I'm glad she said that.
Well, yeah, she said that. We didn't say that. We didn't say that.
You do realise it just means we can never, ever, ever have a registrar on WedChat Live.
We can have.
I know a lady who, she's not a registrar anymore. She was a registrar. She was a senior registrar in North Yorkshire, and she's bought a pub in Whitby of all places.
Oh, I love Whitby.
And we need to get her on. The next discussion we have about registrars, and we'll do it in the next series. Her name's Alison. We'll get her on. We'll bring her on, because I'm sure she'll happily blow the story on how the registrar business works.
I still want the singing celebrant on, to be honest.
The singing celebrant, that's amazing.
I just sort of like opera warble.
I had a bit of
Oh no! In my head, it was an opera man who made everything into a musical. Even buttering his toast on a morning, he just was a singing man.
We have a chap in the comments here that we've not seen. I've not seen your name before, John Spratt. Do you know John Spratt, Pat?
I do. He's one of my friends. He lives in Dundee in Scotland, and he is a psychic.
Yes, he says he's a spiritualist reverend, and he's
Oh,
conducted
sorry.
many. Yeah, I mean, okay. Well, he's giving
close,
you the
wasn't it?
official title, a spiritualist reverend. Does that mean, John? Do you have any kind of like legal powers, or is it more like a celebrant that you'll come and you'll conduct the ceremony, but there still has to be a registrar present? It'd be really interesting to know from you, John, what the situation is on that. Zoe says she has no allegiances, so now it's a free for all. No, we're not trying to make enemies on WedChat Live here, okay? This isn't WedChat Live versus the registrars of North Yorkshire.
Just to be clear, Pat Mulligan isn't trying to make any enemies. Steve might be.
I'm not trying to... Hey, man.
No.
Hey, man, I'm just all about the peace and love. That's where I'm at. So John has just said I'm, and I think he fell on the keyboard. Oh yeah, I'm still a psychic. Did he see that one coming though? Okay, so yeah, tell us a little bit more about that. Kirsty says that she wishes she could have got married outdoors.
I'd have loved to have got married outdoors. It just didn't occur to me at all.
I'm not an outdoorsy kind of person.
Yeah, you sing and play
know,
outdoors all
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I try wherever I can just to get into the shade, basically. Okay. Just before we want to hear from John and what his powers are at his powers.
Secret superpower.
I was talking about legal powers.
Obsessed with power.
No, it was legal powers. I wasn't talking about spiritual powers. I was talking about legal powers. I would like to know about spiritual powers, though. So, I want to get onto this phrase, right, because this is a phrase which has caused much amusement amongst us all.
I've got to get
Pat
Pat in on this.
Pat, hold back, okay? Just hold back. Because it was the test of solemnity and dignity. And when I found that, I went, ooh, that sounds very interesting. I bet Pat will have a few words to say about that. So I Googled the test of solemnity and dignity. And do you know what I found?
A pawn shop.
I found nothing except lots of websites with the phrase the test of solemnity and dignity. So unless this is a secret test like GCSEs where they lock them up in a safe so that none of the children can see them before they have the test, I don't know what the test of solemnity and dignity
See,
is.
I envisage like a line that you have to walk along with your hand out and your eyes closed, touching your nose with the other hand. And if you can do that, then you're all
they
right.
get the venue and the venue owners to do that.
Yeah.
So if you get, we're getting we've got a cat trying to break in. So yeah, okay, solemnity and dignity. The test. We have no idea what this test is.
No.
We don't know anything about it. But I do like the idea of venue owners being forced to run a gauntlet.
I want to be the guy that does the test. No, I'm sorry. No, it's not solemn enough. Let's try again.
Do we have sex after 9 p.m.
No.
with the lights on or off?
Definitely off.
On. Wrong answer. Solemnity and dignity is not your thing. So.
Oh, hang on. I think Zoe has information.
Ooh. Oh.
She says it's very different from local authority to local authority and between registrars even.
Well, that's like the...
But what does she mean by it? Does she mean the test? Does Zoe know about the test?
Solemnity test. Very different.
There needs to be a standardised test where they go and ask 10 questions, tick it off on a box and say, yes, you are solemn and dignified enough.
No, I disagree. I think it needs to be like, you know, the kind of things that you have to go through to join like a secret organisation.
Yeah, like the Freemasons.
Yeah, I think it has to be something like that. I think that's much better.
Right, so we haven't had any information from John the psychic yet, but we'd love some more information from him. That would be really good. Jackie says you walk the plank. I like that. Okay, so yes, so Zoe says yes, the test is different. So what does it like? I wonder whether a registrar goes out and just says, yeah, this is a suitable place. And in all seriousness, there's going to have to be some judgment here, isn't there? So,
yeah.
you know, Pat, Unleash.
Yes.
What's your problem with the solemnity and dignity test?
Oh, it's just there's so many flaws, so little time in the world for this, right? So, flaw number one, right? Whose idea of solemn is it, right? So, and Zoe's right there. There's so many different people with opinions. It's like bottoms; everybody's got one. And what do you mean it's not? What do you mean my bottom's not solemn enough? Of course, it's solemn enough. I want it to be like this, And what solemn for what? I mean, if we're getting married in McDonald's. I don't want to be too posh, do we? We want to be a bit relaxed. We want to be a little bit more informal. So the idea that it's all going to be almost standardized, isn't it? You're almost talking about standardizing how solemn it's going to be. Yeah, by having
I suppose
solemnity.
so. I suppose so. But you have mentioned getting married in McDonald's more than once now, so
I think this is what Pat's after.
I'm a bit hungry. No, I'm not. I don't know. Other fast food restaurants are available, but if you get married somewhere,
I get married in a Subway personally.
We could have done that earlier on today, but no.
What, got married in a Subway?
Could have, yes.
Me and you. I did, Pat.
Me and you.
I'd have had a Subway. I'd have had a Subway if you'd have called me in time, but I don't think I'd have married you in Subway, and I don't think, well, legally we can't at the moment, but who knows when
what this strange new future holds.
This is big news for the wedding industry, though. Let's be serious for a moment, because we can do that occasionally. Why is this such big news for the wedding industry?
Well, it's going to change where you're supplied, frankly and simply, and it's going to open up the market, and it's going to take it away from wedding venues as are currently, your hotels and your churches, and going to take it to a much broader set of places where you can actually do the whole thing. So I think it's big news in that sense, and it potentially changes the margins that are going to be available and acceptable as well. So it could make weddings, dare he say it, a lot cheaper. It could potentially
a big thing. Yes, that was a big thing I was going to come to. How do you think it can make weddings cheaper?
Well, if we look, for example, so another example I've already used, we use the McDonald's. So for a start, rather than being £80 a head for your food, it could be £4.19 if you go for the special wrap. So you've got
startling knowledge of McDonald's.
Well, if you look at the Witherspoons menu, I don't think there's anything comes that close to 80 quid for 15 people. So in a sense, I think it's very much horses for courses. Obviously, and we are talking about where you would actually get married here. You could still already have your wedding reception in Witherspoons or McDonald's. Yeah. It's not about getting married in those places. So, but I do think in that way.
Sorry to jump in there, but if you are, you're talking about money at the moment, you've got a choice. Well, I don't want to get married in a register office because it's a little bit. Would you call it clinical? That's what a lot of people who would want a big wedding would say. But my only other option is then to go for a full day at a wedding venue where the venue's going to cost, I'm going to have to get entertainers in and things like that. So it could actually what you're saying is it could actually make it cheaper by shortening the wedding day. We could say, well, we'll get married in, and if our definition of home is correct, we'll get married in our back garden, and we'll have people around and we'll make it a garden party in the afternoon.
Yeah, and of course that comes back to the whole thing of, are there going to be enough registrars? At the minute, we've got enough registrars for venues. In the middle of August, when everyone's getting married, or June, July, August, when people get married, we've got enough registrars at this moment in time. Yeah. Would we have enough if everyone wants to get married at home?
Yeah.
And would it maybe change the dynamic of our industry? Because people can now get married June, July, August. They don't have to get married in the winter at all. And there's going to be no attraction to get married potentially in the winter. So it could move the business potentially. It's still very pessimistic.
I don't think it would massively change our industry, because I think the other thing that you've got to be aware of here is that people could start letting out their properties and spaces on, at the moment it says a beach wouldn't be a place, but what if it suddenly did become a place, and then they were letting out space on the beach? How many people would love to get married on the beach? I mean, I reckon huge amounts of people would want to.
And also, how many people are prohibited from getting married simply because of cost? It would really kind of simplify things for those people, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Zoe says here there'll be so many changes from this, avenues opening up, but it will also be so much tougher to compete. How do you mean, Zoe? It'd be really interesting if you kind of flesh that out a little bit by saying it'll be much tougher to compete. What do you think she means by that, Pat?
Well, I know that Zoe works at the thin end of the wedges, and she's working with venues often that are new or venues that are distressed, and that's why they're paying a premium for her service.
Yeah.
So she is aware that it's already. My assumption, is that she's aware that it's already tough, and there's already quite deep discounting going into the wedding industry. And that people are already struggling in some areas. So it could be around that sort of mark. I actually do think in a future episode it would be very valuable to engage with Zoe about discounting and how. Well, first of all, where to get a discount from. There's a good one. But the flip side of that, what damage discounting does to the wedding industry, because that's it does actually cause damage, believe it or not.
Yeah.
One person's cheap wedding potentially could be the end of a life cycle for a venue.
I agree. Paul says here, can I get married at the Cow and Calf in Ilkley? Can you imagine getting married at the Cow and Calf in Ilkley? That'd be beautiful, wouldn't it?
It'd be so beautiful, yeah.
And Zoe says you're bob on. She says you're right on, Pat. So she doesn't need to type all that out now and hurt her thumbs.
Gold star.
A gold star for Pat. If you're just joining us, let us know you're here. We've got a number of people watching. If you're lurking in the comments, give us a wave and tell us where you're from and what you do. Are you a part of the wedding industry? We want to give a shout out to you. We're talking about the news that has come out in the last few days, or has been reiterated in the last few days, that the government is going to make it easier to get married by reforming the 1836 current marriage laws, which have very strict rules attached to them, and making it easier to get married outside or potentially on a boat or something like that. And we're just discussing the implications of that for the wedding industry with myself, Stephen Heath, Pat, my colleague Pat Mulligan, and my wife Laura Heath as well. We got any other comments in the comments section that you want to highlight here, Laura? No,
not that.
She hasn't. I put her right on the spot
speculating
there.
about the McDonald's drive-through marriage.
Hey, the McDonald's drive-through.
But what if they got your order wrong and married you to the wrong person? I mean,
I don't think McDonald's has ever got my drive-through order wrong. And
well, that's because you've got a voice that works. That's why I don't talk to them.
They've never got Pat's wrong because he's loyal.
They get mine wrong all the time. Let me just say.
But you're just so loyal to them. Where would you get married? In all seriousness, where would you get married, Pat? If you if there were no restrictions, if these go through, where would you like to get married?
I am married, and where I got married was amazing. Right, so we'll start first of all. Playhouse in Halifax.
We're laying the ground. Is Laura Mulligan watching this? Because if she is, you'd be in trouble. That was
now,
good.
She'd be watching it in the future, right? And it was beautiful. Admittedly, it was a beautiful sunny day, and you've worked at my wedding venue at Clay House.
Yes, I'm a recommended supplier there.
My wedding venue, the venue where I got married, and it is beautiful. I'm quite traditional. I would like to get married in a place that is solemn, genuinely. Although we've been joking about it, I think it is something that you have to take seriously, and it is something that you have to be truly sincere about, and that your guests have to behave accordingly. So actually, I'm perfectly happy with the decision I made, but I'm aware that other people wouldn't. I mean, I do like the idea in a sense of a hot air balloon. Laura, when we were discussing getting married, Laura discussed us disappearing off to Las Vegas and getting married by Elvis. And I actually think that was quite a good idea. I'm not the biggest fan.
You Patrick, Laura, your wife.
Is this one of your other jobs you do? You sort of disappear off.
Well, I'm an Elvis impersonator. Yeah.
No,
regular.
you actually marry people under the guise of Elvis.
I should do that. Or do you, Laura, take part of me? Thank you very much. You may kiss your bride. So, yeah, that's really. I think you've raised a really good point there. That actually, all joking aside, one of the things that the registrars say is. That we have been brought together today because they want to. This couple want to get married. The institution of marriage is something that should never be entered into lightly, and both with the consent of the couple. And I think that's a really good point. That we would self. Would we kind of like self. What's the word I'm looking for?
Regulate?
We'd self-regulate, wouldn't we? By saying, actually, no, I don't want to get married there because this is a big deal.
Yeah.
I'm marrying the person that I love.
It does matter.
I'd like to think so. Personally, I'd like to think so. I mean, the thing is, and Laura made a really good point there, it might already be stopping people from getting married. The bar of cost might be something that's preventing people from currently getting married.
Absolutely.
And in that sense, it might just open up the numbers and more people might get married as a consequence of this relaxation, rather than the existing people being allowed to just, as it were, do what they may. I'll get married here. But I think it is. I mean, if you look at other buildings, schools are often empty for certainly 6 weeks of the summer. They've nearly all got a big hall, assembly hall. Yeah. They've nearly all got catering facilities.
Village halls.
Village halls. Yeah. These kind of venues, they really could, have a massive impact there.
At the moment, you can use a village hall for a wedding, but you'll have to have gone to a church or a register office or a venue to have had your ceremony first, won't you? I know that Kirsty and Cameron, who I'm singing for next August, they'd spoken to me and said they had 3 venues in mind that they wanted to go to get married before they went to the Salix Yurts in York, which is where they're going to have their wedding reception. So at the moment, you've got to go somewhere and then go to the venue afterwards. And that could really change that, because somewhere like the Salix Yurts, you could just say, well, we'll get married in the yurt and have the wedding there, or like I said, you could just say, well, let's just use the village hall and have a little party. We'll have the registrar come. We'll have a party in the afternoon. Then we're not so restricted by cost, because the cost of weddings, we could do 7, 8, 9, 10 shows on that, couldn't we?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And you've also got the thing of course, when it comes to the cost of a wedding day, if you could have got married, say locally in a school or in a church hall, not a church hall, in a village hall or something of that nature, then now you don't have to do that anymore. So you can get married there and you can have your reception there. You don't have the cost of people moving. You have the additional transport costs. So it could move things a lot more local for people.
Yes, absolutely. Well, this has been a really interesting discussion. It will be very interesting to see what the government comes out with. And as soon as the government comes out with the specifics of this, I think we need to get back on the live and talk about it. Just before we go, Jackie says that you should take your vows again, Pat, in a hot hair balloon. That would be interesting. Because she fell on a keyboard again, but a hot hair balloon. Can you imagine a hot hair balloon?
Hot hair. Still like hot hair. I wish I had it.
I have. Is there any other comments that you want to highlight, Laura, before we go?
No, I think we're all right.
Well, it's been a really interesting discussion. Thank you ever so much for all of your comments. We really appreciate people coming into the comment section, contributing to this live. It wouldn't be the same without you. Yeah. If we do it on Facebook Live and nobody comments, we might as well do it as a podcast. You are part of this show, and we really, really appreciate the fact that you've turned up this evening and you've been a part of this as well. So next week we'll be back with WedChat Live. We will also be live on Sunday at 8 o'clock with Wed Sounds Live. That's
I missed it last week.
We missed it last week because I was at a wedding. It was very sad.
Yeah,
we had a lot of people who were upset about it. But listen, it's been great to get to speak to everybody this evening. Any parting words, Pat?
No, just to say, when we do this topic again, I'm going to invite Alison, and we're going to invite Zoe Dew. That's what we're going to do. Definitely.
I think we need to get. I think we've got our expertise. We're in the wedding industry. We know how it works. We're real experts in our niche, aren't we? Which is music, and it's good to get those other people in, to get those other voices.
Absolutely. And the thing we were talking earlier on about the next series, when we do the next series in about 4 weeks' time. If you're a wedding professional and you're watching this right now and you've got some expertise to offer us, please reach out to Steve. It's best to reach out into one place.
I've got the
Please reach out to Steve, and it'd be great. It'd be great to get you involved in future discussions and future programs. It
really would. Thank you ever so much to everybody who's watched, and thank you.
What's next week's topic?
Next week's topic, we're going to.
Thanks, Tracy.
We kind of veered off.
Can I guess?
We veered off track. We did drinks receptions last week, Pat. So what we're going to do this week?
I think we're going to talk about the wedding breakfast, Stephen.
The wedding breakfast, and we're actually going to reveal to everybody why it's called a breakfast.
Oh, we've just got a quick sneaky question from Dimpner.
Right.
In terms of entertainment cost, does the venue that you choose, does that make a difference to the cost that you'll pay for your entertainment?
That with the short answer to that is no. But if you're in a cheaper, if you're in a cheaper venue, you probably won't reach up to the higher ends of cost. But that's actually a broadcast in and of itself, isn't it?
Yeah,
that really is. But it's a really, really, really good point. And it's about you. If you're spending 30 grand on a wedding, it's an interesting stat actually. It was the 10% of your budget, chat. So. There's a throwaway comment. 10% of your budget should be entertainment, but there's a throwaway comment, and it is a discussion for another time. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, we got married in 2002. We did it on 3 grand, didn't we? We did it very cheap.
We were students.
We just wanted to be married, so we did it absolutely as cheap as possible. But so in that case. Entertainment costs for us. We paid a DJ to put.
Well,
CDs
he was in with the package.
He was in with the package,
I'm not sure we'd have gone out our way.
Well, we wouldn't have gone out of our way to choose the higher cost. So the entertainment cost is probably relative to what you're spending on the wedding. But again, I really think we need to do a broadcast on that and have a good deep dive into not just entertainment costs, but the costs of weddings as a whole and why they cost as much as they do, because there are good reasons. I won't say aren't there, Pat, because we could get into a whole other discussion.
Right into that.
We're going to get into
that's a topic. Can we swap that for tonight? We could have done that an hour ago.
We could have done it an hour ago, but this has been a very interesting topic. As soon as we need to get Zoe on, we need to get those people. As soon as the government comes out with what they're going to do with this. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. It's good night from Pat.
Good night.
It's good night from Laura.
Good night.
And it's good night from me. See you later, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Bye.